presentation focuses on Malaysian manga as a subset of manga in general, which is a Japanese type of comic that is said to originate from ancient Japanese art forms. So the reason why this is a significant research topic is because although manga originates from Japan, it has recently, perhaps for the past couple of decades or so, become a global form of media that has seen its outreach go into every continent, including that of my home country, which is Malaysia. And we even have our own local brand of manga today, especially in today's hybrid learning environment in the post-pandemic world, where we tend to think of various techniques or supplementary platforms, or what they call multimodal learning, as additional content that can be used in classrooms to supplement or to enhance the entire learning experience. So a brief overview: globally, manga has its variants or its contemporaries worldwide. In Korea, it's called manhwa, spelled as manhwa, while in China and the Chinese-speaking world, it is called manhua, spelled as manhua. Manga, of course, is spelled as manga. And of course, it's comparable to other forms of comics like American comics, European bande dessinée, in France in particular. And you also have webtoons, which is also very popular in Korea itself. And of course, Chinese comics from Hong Kong in the 1980s. So one can compare, of course, the ability of Japanese manga and Malaysian manga against other forms of comics in terms of highlighting these social issues. For my preliminary findings, I did do a very small-scale pilot study, in which I selected 4 Malaysian manga titles for each category, and the comparison from the visual, thematic, and structural approaches, as well as educational and content about diversity, is presented as follows. So this pilot study reveals a few similarities between Japanese manga and Malaysian manga. So the aspects that I look at are visual, thematic, structural, and educational. So the comparison between Japanese manga and Malaysian manga is as follows, where Japanese manga contains culturally orderless and also culturally specific types. That means to say that there are genres within Japanese manga that contain plots, storylines, and characters that do not seem to come from any real-world country. But there are also some genres within the larger field of manga that do contain very specific historical epochs, with characters that are based on real historical figures, or even characters that are fictional but based in real historical periods. Whereas in Malaysian manga, in some titles, now because our Malaysian market for manga is a bit smaller than Japanese manga market, which has been around for many decades, so for Malaysian manga, we tend to have more standalone individual graphic novels rather than long-standing series like the famous ones like Doraemon, Sailor Moon, which have multiple volumes, right? In Malaysian manga, we tend to have a lot of standalone graphic novels. So in some of these titles, we do see ethnicity as a social category made specific and recognizable. In Japanese manga, there are moral values and other themes, but they're not spelled out very explicitly, so the reader has to detect them on their own. Whereas in Malaysian manga, they will have certain pages explaining the moral values so that the reader can explicitly notice them. And also, one very unique characteristic of Japanese manga in comparison to other types of international comics is that the authors tend to give comments about the entire process of their creative work flow, like how they come up with the characters, what events in real life inspired them. So they have these authors' comments in Japanese manga, and they also have them in Malaysian manga. And one thing Malaysian manga also has is something called knowledge panels, a little bit like Google's knowledge panels. So if it's a manga about a culture foreign to Malaysia, then you'll have a little box at the side explaining all about this particular custom or tradition. So it's almost resembling a textbook, so that if children or even students were reading it and it was something totally new to them, they could at least brush up on their knowledge about that particular matter.